Alright, let's talk about congruent triangles. So, here we have the letters SSS. SSS stands for side, side, side. So instead of writing out side, 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 we just put out 3 S's just to make it much faster. Alright, so what are we talking about when we're talking about side, side, side? So let's say we have one pair of sides that are congruent from one triangle to another. I have a second pair of sides that are congruent, and then I have a third pair of sides that are congruent as well. So what side, 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 or SSS lets us know is that is all we need to know. This is enough information to know that these two triangles are congruent. Now remember, if two triangles are congruent, then we know that the corresponding angles, so these angles will be congruent, these corresponding angles will be congruent, and these angles will be congruent as well, or these corresponding angles. So again, this, what I just displayed here in the visual, you can see 3 pairs of corresponding sides, in other words 3 matching sides that are the same length. Then I have 3 matching angles from one triangle to another. This is the information that tells us two triangles are congruent. But what SSS lets us know is that I don't need all this information. All I need to know is this, that 3 pairs of sides in one triangle are congruent to 3 pairs of sides in another triangle. That's all I need to know. If I know this is true, then I know everything else will be true in terms of the definition of congruent triangles, meaning I'll know these are congruent, I'll know these are congruent, and then I'll know these angles here are congruent as well. So again, this, what you see in front of you, is the definition of congruent triangles, where you have 3 pairs of corresponding angles that are congruent, 3 pairs of corresponding sides that are congruent. So normally you would need to know that, but now that you know SSS, if I were to show you 2 triangles that are made up of the same side lengths from one triangle to another, they're made up of the same exact side lengths, then we already know these 2 triangles are congruent. So I can say these 2 triangles are congruent, and the reason would be by side, 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 or SSS. And if I look at one more case here, right, I have 2 triangles. So if I was told that this side here is congruent to this side, and then I was also told that this side is congruent to this side, and then lastly I was told this side is congruent to this side, even though they don't look congruent because their orientation, like they're rotated differently or positioned differently on my paper, I still know that they're congruent, meaning I'll know that this angle is going to be the same or congruent to this angle that I just drew. This angle will be congruent to this angle, and then this third angle here is congruent to this third angle. So I know that will be true because of the fact that I was originally told that I had 3 pairs of sides in one triangle congruent to 3 sides in another triangle. So again, these were congruent, and that was my third pair. So again, this is enough information to let me know that I have 2 congruent triangles. So don't forget, definition of congruent triangles, that's important to know in order to understand the implications by side, side, side. So again, these 2 triangles, and then I put are congruent by side, side, side. Let me make that. So these should be capital letters. So if it doesn't look capital, make sure it does look like a capital S's. So yeah, these 2 triangles are congruent by SSS. So again, remember, congruent means that even though they didn't tell me that, I know that the corresponding angles will also be the same as well, meaning they're congruent. So that's congruent triangles by side, side, side.